Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. That's Schopenhauer. And today, I want you to see what others can't. Let's begin. You walk into a crowded room. Everyone's talking, loud, clever, sharp. People compete with stories, with facts, with wit. It's a contest, but nobody says it out loud. You feel the pressure to join in, to prove you belong, to show you're smart. But what if you didn't? What if you let them think you're a little slow? What if you played the fool, not because you are, but because you choose to? Schopenhauer believed there's power in this. He saw that the wisest people sometimes look like the simplest. Why? Because the world rewards confidence, but it punishes arrogance. Show too much, and you'll stir envy. Hide your strength, and you'll be left alone. It sounds strange, doesn't it? Why would you want to be underestimated? Why would you let others think less of you? But think about it. When you're not a threat, people relax. They open up. They show you who they really are. You get to see the truth behind the masks. You become an observer, not a target. You notice details others miss. You hear what's not being said. You see the games, the posturing, the insecurity. Schopenhauer saw that the loudest voices are often the most insecure. The need to be right is a sign of inner doubt. But the fool? The fool is free. He doesn't have to win. He doesn't have to impress. He can listen. He can learn. He can wait. And when the time is right, he can surprise everyone. Have you ever seen someone underestimated only to reveal their true ability at the perfect moment? That's the art of playing the fool. It's not about being weak. It's about being wise enough to wait. It's about knowing that real power doesn't need to be shown off. Real confidence doesn't need applause. Schopenhauer's own life taught him this. He was brilliant, but his mother warned him, "Your cleverness is useless if you always need to show it." He learned that pride creates distance, that people resent those who make them feel small. So he chose a different path. He chose to hide his sharpest edges, to let others feel strong, to let them believe they were teaching him. But all the while, he was learning. He was watching. He was storing up wisdom. This is the origin of the struggle. We're taught to stand out, to be the best, to prove ourselves. But this creates conflict. It creates drama. It creates a cycle of competition and comparison. And it never ends. You win one battle, but there's always another. You prove yourself today, but tomorrow you have to do it again. It's exhausting. It's lonely. It's a trap. So what if you stopped playing that game? What if you let yourself be underestimated? What if you embraced the role of the fool, not because you're foolish, but because you're free? Free from the need to impress, free from the fear of being overlooked, free from the endless chase for approval. Schopenhauer saw that most suffering comes from attachment to status, to reputation, to being seen as important. But what if you could let go? What if you could move through life without that weight? That's the secret of playing the fool. It's not about giving up. It's about letting go. Letting go of the need to be seen. Letting go of the need to be right. Letting go of the need to win. When you do this, something changes. You become lighter. You become calmer. You become more present. You notice things you missed before. You see the games for what they are. You see the people behind the masks. And you realize most people are just afraid. Afraid of being insignificant. Afraid of being ignored. Afraid of being left behind. But the fool isn't afraid. The fool knows that none of it matters. That true worth isn't measured by applause. That real wisdom doesn't need to be announced, it just is. So, how do you start? First, stop justifying yourself. You don't owe anyone proof of your intelligence. Second, start affirming your own value. Remind yourself that you don't need to compete. Third, Choose your peace. Let others have their moment. Let them win the argument. Let them feel smart. You don't lose anything by letting go. In fact, you gain everything. You gain freedom. You gain clarity. You gain peace. And you gain the power to act when the moment is right. This is not just a strategy. It's a way of being. It's a way of moving through the world with less fear and more wisdom. It's about integrating your shadow, as Jung would say. Accepting the parts of yourself that want to be seen, but choosing not to let them run the show. It's about being whole, being complete, being enough. So next time you walk into that crowded room, remember Schopenhauer. Remember the power of the fool, and choose your own peace. Write this down. I choose my peace over fear. If this spoke to you, stay with me on this journey. Let's keep learning, keep growing, and keep choosing peace together. Let's keep going. Let's talk about something deeper. Why are we so afraid of being seen as the fool? Think about it. Most people would rather stay silent than risk looking naive. We dodge questions, hide our confusion, just so no one can call us gullible. But where does this fear come from? It's universal. Almost everyone feels it. Maybe you remember a moment in school. You raised your hand, got the answer wrong, and everyone laughed. That sting stays with us. It teaches us, don't stand out, don't risk it, don't be the fool. But here's the twist. This fear shapes more than just our childhood. It shapes our choices, our relationships, even our society. We make snap decisions to avoid being duped. We second guess, we hesitate, all to dodge that label. Sucker, fool, naive. But what do we lose in the process? We lose curiosity. We lose openness. We lose the chance to learn. Because the fool, in truth, is the one who dares to ask, the one who risks misunderstanding just to understand. Have you noticed how the wisest people sometimes play dumb? They let others talk. They let others reveal themselves. They watch. They listen. And when they speak, it matters. There's a psychology to this. Tess Wilkinson Ryan calls it sugrophobia, the fear of being played the fool. It's so strong. It shapes our laws, our contracts, even our politics. We build systems to protect ourselves from being tricked. But sometimes, these systems keep us from trusting, from connecting, from cooperating. Because if you're always afraid of being fooled, you never let your guard down. And if you never let your guard down, you never really connect. So what if you leaned into it? What if you let yourself risk looking silly? What if you chose to play the fool, not out of ignorance, but out of courage? Picture the fool at the center of the party, laughing, open, unafraid. People are drawn to that energy. It's freeing. It's real. The fool isn't worried about being perfect. He isn't hiding behind a mask. He's showing you it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to laugh at yourself. And when you do, you give others permission to do the same. You break the ice. He questions the rules. He challenges the serious faces. He reminds us not to take ourselves too seriously. When you play the fool, you become a mirror for others. You show them their own vulnerability. You remind them it's okay to be human. It's okay to not know. It's okay to try and fail. This is how we learn. This is how we grow. Even in tense situations, the fool finds humor. He cracks a joke, breaks the tension, and suddenly, everyone breathes easier. That's not foolishness. That's wisdom in disguise. Because sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is laugh at yourself. Let's talk about the sad clown paradox. Have you ever noticed how the funniest people are sometimes the ones who carry the most pain? Comedy can be a shield, a way to process hurt, a way to turn suffering into something lighter. When you play the fool, you're not pretending pain doesn't exist. You're showing that it doesn't have to define you. You can choose joy. You can choose play. You can choose to lift others up, even when you're hurting. And in that, you find strength, you find connection, you find hope. The fool also breaks down hierarchies. He reminds us that power is just a game, that titles and roles are just costumes. Underneath, we're all the same. We all want to be seen, to be heard, to be loved. So when you play the fool, you level the field. You invite everyone in. You say, let's be real. Let's be human. Let's laugh together. And maybe, let's change something. Because sometimes, it takes a fool to tell the truth, to say what others are afraid to say, to ask the questions no one else will ask, to point out the emperor has no clothes. That's courage. That's wisdom. That's the gift of the fool. So, how can you bring this into your life? First, stop justifying your seriousness. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy. Second, start affirming your right to play. Give yourself permission to be silly. Third, choose your connection over your pride. Let yourself be seen, flaws and all. You might be surprised what opens up. Write this down. I give myself permission to be imperfect. If this speaks to you, stay with me. Let's keep exploring, keep laughing, keep growing, together. Let's dive into another layer, the fool as a force for freedom, transformation, and truth. Have you ever wondered why the fool keeps showing up in every culture, every story, every era? It's not just for comic relief. The fool is a mirror, reflecting our deepest vulnerabilities, our hidden fears, our longing to be real. When you play the fool, you're not just dodging ego battles. You're inviting others to drop their masks too. You become a catalyst for change. Think about the medieval court jester. He could say what no one else dared. He challenged kings, poked holes in pride, and turned the world upside down, all with a joke or a story. That's not weakness. That's courage in disguise. Why does this matter now? Because we live in a world obsessed with image. We're told to be flawless, to never mess up, to always have the answer. But the fool reminds us, mistakes are how we grow. Their mishaps aren't shameful, they're lessons, invitations to adapt and try again. When you allow yourself to look silly, you give others permission to be human too. You break the tension, you open the door for real connection. Humor becomes a bridge, not a wall. The fool also breaks down hierarchies. He questions who gets to be in charge, who gets to speak, who gets to matter. By refusing to play the status game, the fool levels the field for everyone. This isn't just about social strategy. It's about justice, about making space for voices that get ignored. And underneath it all, there's wisdom. The fool's freedom isn't ignorance. It's a deeper knowing. He sees that most of what we chase, status, reputation, applause, is just a performance. When you stop chasing, you start seeing. You notice the games people play, the illusions they cling to, the ways they hide their own fear of being the sucker. What if you let yourself be transformed by this? What if you let go of the need to always be right, always be in control? You'd find more space for creativity, for play, for authenticity. You'd become more adaptable, more resilient, less afraid of falling, because you know you can always get back up. Stop justifying your seriousness. Let yourself laugh, even at your own expense. Start affirming your right to make mistakes. See every blunder as a step toward wisdom. Choose to question the rules. Ask why, poke fun at power, and invite others to do the same. Write this down. I embrace my inner fool and give myself permission to grow. If this opened something in you, keep walking this path. Let's keep learning, laughing, and transforming together. Let's turn to another fascinating angle. The fool as a symbol of freedom, playfulness, and radical honesty. Have you noticed how the fool seems infinitely freer and happier than those weighed down by the need to appear wise or important? The fool laughs easily, moves lightly, and doesn't carry the heavy armor of ego or reputation. When everyone else is busy proving themselves, the fool simply is, unburdened, spontaneous, and alive. Why does this matter? Because in a world obsessed with achievement and seriousness, we often lose touch with our playful side. We forget that laughter and lightness aren't just luxuries, they're necessities for a full, authentic life. The fool reminds us that playfulness is a basic human need, not a childish indulgence. Without it, we become rigid, exhausted, and disconnected from our own vitality. But there's more. The fool's vulnerability is his greatest strength. He's not afraid to make mistakes, to laugh at himself, to be the butt of the joke. This courage to be seen as imperfect breaks the ice for everyone else. When you laugh at yourself, you invite others to drop their guard and be real too. It's a kind of social magic. Suddenly, masks fall away and genuine connection is possible. The fool also challenges the status quo. He questions norms, pokes fun at authority, and refuses to take life, or himself, too seriously. By doing so, he becomes a catalyst for change. He shows us that it's okay to challenge what's normal, to ask why, and to look at life from a different angle. This isn't just rebellion. It's an invitation to growth, innovation, and self-discovery. When you embody the fool, you give yourself permission to step into the unknown, to try new things, and to learn from every stumble. There's a deep wisdom in this. True intelligence isn't about always being right. It's about staying open, curious, and resilient. The fool's journey mirrors our own. We start out innocent, face setbacks, and gain wisdom through experience. By embracing our inner fool, we learn to trust ourselves, to listen to intuition, and to find meaning in both triumph and failure. Stop justifying your need to always be serious. Let yourself play, even if it feels awkward at first. Start affirming your right to make mistakes. See every misstep as a lesson, not a failure. Choose to laugh at yourself. Use humor to break tension and build real connections. Write this down. I embrace my playful, imperfect self and invite others to do the same. If this resonates, keep leaning into your own freedom. Let's keep exploring, laughing, and growing together. Let's explore a new dimension. The fool as a challenger of authority and a mirror for society's contradictions. Have you ever noticed how the fool can say what no one else dares to say? Throughout history, the fool has stood at the edge of power, using humor and wit to question the rules and expose the absurdities of those in charge. Think of the medieval court jester. He could mock the king, poke fun at the court, and reveal uncomfortable truths, all under the mask of playfulness. This isn't just entertainment. It's a subtle act of courage. The fool's jokes disarm anger, making it possible to challenge authority without provoking outright hostility. By laughing at himself and the system, the fool invites others to see the cracks in the facade, to notice the contradictions in their own beliefs and behaviors. This is the power of the fool, to hold up a mirror, forcing society to reflect, question, and sometimes even change. But it's not just about challenging others. The fool also helps us challenge ourselves. When we see someone embrace their own mistakes and vulnerabilities, it gives us permission to do the same. The fool's willingness to look silly, to admit ignorance, to try and fail. This is the antidote to perfectionism and the fear of judgment. It's a reminder that growth comes from facing discomfort, not avoiding it. The fool archetype is also a symbol of transformation. In many stories, the fool starts as an outsider or a naive character, but through their journey, by questioning, stumbling, and learning, they gain wisdom that others overlook. This transformation inspires hope. If the fool can grow, so can we. Stop justifying your need to always be right. Allow yourself to question, to laugh at your own contradictions, and to admit when you don't know. Start affirming your right to challenge norms. Use humor and honesty to open up conversations, even about uncomfortable truths. Choose to mirror society. Reflect on your own beliefs and actions, and invite others to do the same, not with judgment, but with curiosity and openness. Write this down. I embrace my role as a challenger and a mirror for truth. If this sparks something in you, keep questioning, keep laughing, and keep reflecting together. Have you ever noticed how much energy people spend avoiding embarrassment? Law professor Tess Wilkinson Ryan calls this the fear of playing the sucker, a universal psychological force that quietly drives our choices, from what we say in meetings to how we handle relationships and even how we vote. We don't just fear looking foolish. We fear being taken advantage of, being duped, being the one who didn't get it. This fear is so powerful that it can distort our decision-making, sometimes leading us to act against our own interests, just to avoid looking like the fool. It's why we sometimes stay silent when we should speak up, or double down on a bad decision, because admitting we were wrong feels worse than the mistake itself. But what if you could see this fear for what it is, a social script, not a personal flaw? The fool is actually a social type, with a special role in group life. Society needs the fool, someone who breaks norms, who's willing to be laughed at, who exposes the boundaries of what's acceptable. Fool-making is a continuous process, used to enforce propriety and adjust status. Yet the presence of the fool also gives everyone else a chance to reflect. Are you following the crowd just to avoid ridicule? Are you making choices from your own values, or just out of fear of being seen as naive? The psychology of the fool, then, is about more than jokes or mistakes. It's about courage. It's about daring to ask the question everyone else is afraid to ask. It's about being willing to risk a little embarrassment in order to get to the truth, or to make a real connection. And ironically, the people who are most afraid of looking foolish are often the ones who miss out on growth, on learning, on genuine joy. Stop justifying your fear of embarrassment. Notice when it's holding you back, and name it for what it is. Start affirming your right to ask questions and admit mistakes. Remind yourself that everyone learns by risking looking silly sometimes. Choose to make at least one decision each day that isn't ruled by the fear of being the fool. Let yourself be curious, open, and real. Write this down. I release the fear of looking foolish and choose authentic growth. If this resonates, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep daring to play the fool together.